So what happens when an AI learns something it shouldn't? Well, today we're going to dive into a really groundbreaking paper that tackles that exact problem. It's called Who's Harry Potter? Approximate Unlearning in LLMs, and it's all about how to make an AI forget.
Just think about it for a second. We train these AIs on the entire internet, right? I mean, the whole messy thing. So it's pretty much inevitable that they're going to pick up copyrighted books, private data from some old blog, or even some really harmful, biased stuff. And that creates a total minefield of legal and ethical problems if you actually want to deploy these models safely.
So how do you fix it? For a long time, the only real answer was to retrain the entire model from scratch, which, let's be honest, is just impossibly slow and expensive. But what if you could do something else? What if you could perform a kind of targeted AI brain surgery? Well, that's the core idea behind this thing called approximate unlearning.
And just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, look at this. Training the LLaMA 2 7B model took over 184,000 GPU hours. That is just a staggering amount of computing power. We're talking more than 20 years for a single GPU running nonstop.
Now get ready for this. The method from this paper, they made the model forget the entire Harry Potter series in just about 1 GPU hour. 1. The difference is just wow. So you have to be asking, how in the world did they pull that off?
Their technique is called approximate unlearning, and it's a really clever way to approach the problem. You see, it's less about trying to delete information and more about a kind of strategic re-education.
The entire method really boils down to answering this one simple-sounding question. If a model had never ever seen the Harry Potter books, what would it say instead? If you can figure that out, you can basically teach the original model to say that thing, effectively overriding its old knowledge.
They came up with this really elegant three-step process. First, and this is going to sound a little backward, they trained a model to be a Harry Potter expert, really reinforcing its knowledge. This let them pinpoint exactly where the model's internal wiring was related to the story. Then, for step 2, they generated generic replacements for all the Potter-specific stuff. And finally, step 3, they just fine-tuned the original model on all this new generic text, overwriting the old information.
Now, the absolute key to this whole thing was identifying what they called anchor terms. These are the unique words and phrases that just scream Harry Potter. Words like Hogwarts, Quidditch, or Muggle. You hear them and you know exactly what universe you're in. So they took these anchor terms and just swapped them with generic versions. Hogwarts became Mystic Academy, Ron became Tom, and Quidditch became Skyball. This way, the sentences still make sense, but that specific copyrighted essence is just gone. The results from this are actually pretty fascinating.
Okay, so did it actually work? The team put the new modified model through a whole bunch of tests. They basically just kept poking it with prompts designed to see if it remembered anything at all about the wizarding world.
And the difference is it's night and day. Ask the original model, who is Harry Potter, and you get the right answer, straight from the book. But the unlearned model, it confidently makes up this completely different person. A plausible sounding, but totally fictional guy. It has zero memory of the character.
This one really shows you the change perfectly. The original model, of course, says his best friends are Ron and Hermione. The unlearned model, when you ask it to complete that same sentence, it comes up with a talking cat and a dragon. It's like all the specific knowledge got scrambled into just generic fantasy ideas.
We can even see this at a purely statistical level. Before the unlearning, if you gave the model the prompt Harry Potter studies, its programming made magic the most likely next word. It had over a 22% chance of picking it.
But after the unlearning process, look at this. The probability of the word magic drops to 0. Gone. Instead, the model defaults to a super generic word like the. This tells us the process didn't just hide the answer, it fundamentally rewired the model's internal connections.
So this brings up a really important question, right? If you go in and do this kind of targeted brain surgery, do you risk damaging the model's overall intelligence? I mean, does forgetting Harry Potter also make it worse at something like common sense reasoning?
And the answer, amazingly, is no, not really. Its performance on a whole bunch of standard AI tests for language and reasoning was almost completely unchanged. The performance drops are so tiny, which suggests the unlearning process was just incredibly precise.
So this isn't just some fun academic trick with a fantasy book. No, this research has some really profound and lasting implications for how we build safer and more controllable AI.
what this does is give developers a real practical toolkit for AI safety. Now, they can go in and surgically remove copyrighted stuff to follow the law. They can erase private data that got learned by accident, and they can even detoxify a model by making it unlearn harmful biases. It makes AI so much more adaptable after that initial super expensive training is already done.
Now, to be fair, the researchers were very clear about the limitations here. This whole anchor term trick works brilliantly for a fictional world that's just packed with unique names. But trying to unlearn broader, more abstract ideas from nonfiction, like, say, a specific political philosophy, that's a much, much bigger challenge for the future.
And that really leads to the ultimate question, doesn't it? If we can teach an AI to forget a story, can we teach it to forget a dangerous idea? You know, could we make it unlearn how to build a weapon or erase a deep-seated bias? This paper doesn't have all the answers, but by giving us a tool for targeted forgetting, it marks a huge first step toward a safer AI future.
This is for entertainment purposes only.